Hello everyone, this is Gruesome Hertzogg. My very special guest today is actor Steve Warren. He played Ivan in the movie Scarce. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good, Gruesome. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you could come on today.
Glad to be here.
And,
it's funny you used the name Hertzogg, and I did a film last year where I played a character based on Werner Herzog.
No kidding.
It's a student film called The Ecstatic Truth, and it's really good. I don't know if it's ever going to be shown anywhere. The guy who made it just keeps cranking stuff out every day and doesn't do enough with it. But it's a really interesting little thing. You can find a trailer for it online anyway.
All right. Well, in case you're wondering where that name came from. A while back, I was watching a movie called Dead Snow. It's a zombie comedy horror film from Norway. And the colonel's last name, the leader of the zombies, his last name was Hertzogg. So I just added a T, and added an extra G. And then the gruesome part came from horror movies, very gruesome. So I came up with Gruesome Hertzogg, and it seems to stick. So that's how that came about.
Okay. Nothing to do with Werner, then?
No, sorry. But you can dream about it if you want.
Did you ever see his, it wasn't his film, but he was in an incident at Loch Ness?
No.
You like film, you like comedy, you like horror, you should see that.
Oh, check that out.
Put it on your list.
Well, we can talk about this one. I never heard of it. It's available on demand on Amazon, and you can buy it on Amazon. But Cheerleader Autopsy in 2003, speaking of comedy horror. Directed by Stu Dodge.
Yeah, good old Stu. He's still around. We're talking about doing another one, finally. But, that didn't turn out too great. It's, one of those independent cheapies, and I got paid for the day I worked. I played a newscaster. I did one scene, and I kind of added a little comic twist of my own at the end. Because I do a lot of horror, and I do a lot of other stuff, but I really want to do comedy, so sometimes I'll bring some comedy that's not in the script.
Yeah, well, of course, it was filmed in Atlanta, Georgia, the state that you live in. And I love the production company's name. Do you remember what it's called?
Stinky Pictures?
That's quite ironic. That's quite interesting.
Well, it's truth in advertising. Yeah.
So basically, what's this movie about, basically?
Well, I seem to recall that it was mostly set at a funeral home or something with the weird guys who were killing cheerleaders, and they had enough cheerleaders for the trailer, but not enough to sustain the movie. So people who go to see it for the cheerleaders are going to be disappointed after the first 10 minutes or so.
Wow.
But it was sort of fun in a cheapy kind of movie way.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm a freak when it comes to that stuff. I kind of like the cheapy movies. I like to watch them and just to see, I'm a horror fan, so I really enjoy a lot of it. It doesn't matter to me if it costs $1,000 to make. It's just fun to watch on certain styles of directors and writers and acting. There's some stinkies. No one's perfect. But that's based on income on making the movie, so I don't criticize them too much. Hey, it's something to watch. I'll watch it. What the hell?
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly right.
Some of the people go on and do great things.
Yep. Just like what you did, and we'll get to that later on.
Okay.
I just threw that in there. But trust me, the two that you're in, I absolutely love, and I'm hoping that people get a chance to watch them because they're really going to be blown away by them if they haven't seen them. But this movie that I want to talk to next, I have it. I got to move it up on my list to watch. It's called The Other Side in 2006. Now, can you give us some good stories about this one?
I don't know about good stories, but no, that's. I was offered two films around the same time. They were shooting opposite each other. This was one of them. And I made the wrong choice because the other side at least got out there. The other one was called The Frame. It was a kind of weirdly structured detective story. I was a police detective. I was the only one in the cast who didn't smoke, so my character was a chain smoker. Another world to bring him back.
Greg Bishop.
I was offered the part of the lead Reaper, had to turn it down because it conflicted with the other movie, but the other side turned out to be pretty good. I just so there were no hard feelings, I worked as an extra one day on it for a bar scene. I think it was the last scene they shot.
Right. You know, it's amazing, though, you mentioned that you have to make a decision, and sometimes you make a decision, it might be a bigger role, but it wasn't as publicized. That's what happens when you make choices like that.
Yeah, it's when it rains, it pours. I sit around for 6 months waiting for the phone to ring, and then suddenly...
I also have my collection. I haven't seen it yet. It's coming up. The Signal in 2007. Now, this movie's told in 3 parts. Am I correct?
That's correct, yeah. 3 somewhat different styles, which is it's one continuous story, but about every half hour the style changes. One part's more horror, the second part's kind of horror comedy, and then the last part ties it all together. And this one, it's an interesting story about this signal that goes out and turns people into killers. It comes through cell phones and televisions. And any way a signal can be transmitted. And
right.
People receive it, start killing everybody. I'm just in a brief scene near the beginning where I scare the leading lady, Anessa Ramsey, in the parking lot as she's leaving from a tryst with her lover.
Right.
And so I show up in my pajamas, and I'm trying to warn her about something. We never find out exactly what, but she just drives away and leaves me there ranting in the parking lot. So my character's known as Pajama Man.
Pajama Man.
Yeah, which we shot it in this cold parking lot on the coldest night of the year, and I'm wearing my pajamas for a few hours shooting the scene. But hey, that's movies.
Well, speaking of cold, the next movie that I watched yesterday or Saturday, and I was totally overwhelmed by this one. And you know what I want to talk about. It's basically it introduced me to Steve Warren, Scarce in 2008. Now, people who hasn't seen this yet, I reviewed it. I recommend it for everybody to watch who likes these cannibalistic screwballs, creepy, you name it.
Torture porn, I think they call it.
Really?
Yeah,
well, it's amazing how they come across that way. But this movie, like I said in my review, is one of my top 10 favorites now of all time since 2000. You played Ivan. In case the listeners did not see it, and you can give an idea of exactly who you were in a movie, and if you got any tidbits or stories, go ahead.
Oh, I got a million of them. Well, Ivan is this kindly older gentleman who lives in a rural house that's invaded by these rowdy snowboarders, and he has to defend his homestead against them. So he tortures them and eats them.
Tell you
that may not be the same perspective that everybody else sees it from, but having been Ivan, I know that that's the true story. Somebody else might see it as these guys get stuck in the snow, and the only house they can find is this one where this weird guy lives, or 2 weird guys, as it turns out.
Right.
And they just happen to be cannibals who happen to, kill and eat anybody who comes along.
But you had a couple good lines in this movie.
I had more than a couple good lines. I just love that script.
Yes.
And, I mean, I think I mentioned earlier that I like to put humor into these characters when I can, but this one came ready-made, and it was just my style of humor, this dry humor. And it seems like at the end of every scene we shot, somebody from the crew would come up and quote a line and say, "That's my favorite line in the movie."
Oh God, you did it so well.
You just talk about a gift. All these great lines that they gave me, and I hope I did them justice.
Oh, you certainly did. What's amazing about you in this movie is it's just the way you came off. You came off at first as a Mr. Nice Guy, you know, and then you went to the true Ivan shows up. And the part that I liked the most is you had this kid help you with this the hook thing outside, and he went to go use the outhouse, and I had a funny feeling watching it that's when the hell is going to hit the fan. But the part that I think was makes the movie also creepier is you let them run, and you basically use them like you're hunting a deer. And it just came off. The movie came off so well and so creepy that you think that they got away, and then the ending, like I said in the review, the ending was very frustrating to me, only because what I thought was going to happen came completely opposite of what happened. And then Fats, is that his name in the movie? Fats, the big chunky guy.
Oh, the slob?
The slob, yes. And his house at the end, I'm not going to say that in case people didn't see it, I'm going to ruin it. But that was the most creepiest, weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Well, he was a creepy guy, Chris Warlow. He built some of the props. I mean, that's basically what he does. He wasn't an actor, but he just fit this role so perfectly.
Oh my God!
He even creeped me out in the movie. So. But he was the sweetest guy. I mean, really nice man.
That diner scene when you first get introduced to him, I had a funny feeling there's something off about him. You know what I mean? You can always tell because he was so interested in giving directions. You know what I mean? It was just, but there's a couple lines. I want to see if you can do a line for me if you want. It's the shotgun scene. You remember what we talked about off the air when the kid grabbed the gun.
You dumbass! That gun ain't loaded. That's the line.
And that scene was so amazing to see that hole inside of you. You could see to the other side. Now that was cool. That was cool how they did that.
Kind of a rip-off from Death Becomes Her, but effective nonetheless.
Well, it also Jeepers Creepers had that same scene almost. But that was a great scene. So if anybody hasn't seen this, check out my review and move this up on your list because it's a damn good one. You know, I really enjoyed it.
It's interesting. You in your review, you're talking about your top 10 favorites since 2000, and you mentioned Scarce and you mentioned Wolf Creek. And the first conversation I had with one of the filmmakers when we were negotiating about me playing the role. They called and told me briefly what the story was about, and I said, "Oh, that sounds like Wolf Creek," which is probably not the most diplomatic thing to say,
right,
to somebody who's offering you a part in a movie, especially the leading role. But it just slipped out. And it's one of those things that if I could do it over again, I would have cut my tongue out first,
right,
instead of saying it. But it didn't hurt anything, and he agreed. It was, it's kind of like that, but different. We've got snow, and
right.
Did they ever have snow?
Oh man!
I mean, I spent 4 weeks in Canada doing the shooting, and the temperature didn't go above freezing for the first 3.5 weeks.
Right. Now
every day.
I was watching on YouTube, and it had the making of this. It showed the making of this,
Uh-huh.
Now, were they actually in the snow in their shorts? Was that?
They were in the snow in their shorts and bare feet.
Oh man.
Yeah, they had dedication.
Damn.
I mean, this was just such a wonderful group of guys, and the two filmmakers, Jesse Cook and John Geddes, both in their mid-20s. They had spent a year raising the budget for this movie, their first feature, so they could do it right. And they were well organized as you can be when you're shooting an independent film, because everything's going to go to shit anyway.
Right.
But they had done their homework, they had done their planning, they had raised money. Unlike a lot of the independent filmmakers I work for, who have $1.50 and are hoping to raise the other 50 cents to make their budget.
Right.
But these guys, they're creative, they're talented, they're dedicated. They don't mind running in the snow in their bare feet themselves, and they had a lot of their friends involved in making the movie, plus some people that they brought in from. Well, actually, I was the only one from the States. Some of the crew, though, came from Toronto.
Right. And that's, yeah, like I said in the review, what was neat about that there is I live in south central Pennsylvania, so I live about 45 minutes from Harrisburg. So it was neat to me, even though it wasn't in Pennsylvania, but just how they used Pine Grove. It was just neat to me because I know where Pine Grove is. It was just neat to watch. But of course, Pine Grove don't get that much snow at times maybe, but not quite that bad. But God, I hope my neighbors ain't like that. Who knows?
Well, you might be surprised.
Yeah, right. Well, speaking of another good movie that you're in that I really enjoyed also, and I also reviewed it, and I know to me, I think it's an unknown gem, and another unknown gem, I should say. It's Lynch Mob in 2009. Now, when I first read about this movie, I kept holding off because I'm not much for mob movies, okay?
Okay.
But after deciding to pop this thing in and watched it, I absolutely love this one as well. It had you can say almost like 2 or 3 stories in one movie. You had a sex offender that was sent to this town, a small town, and to hide him from the mob. Well, as you know, the mob comes looking for him, but the mob gets involved in something that they didn't know about, and the movie was creative. Now, I was a big fan of 2001 Maniacs, the first one, and I'm definitely a fan of this one. Now, you played Gus, the gas attendant?
Right, filling station attendant.
What was the experience like for you in this one?
Oh, well, let's see. I got stepped on by a horse, but that's just an incidental scene. That was during a flashback. But I love horses; they're my favorite animals. So
right.
I didn't mind. He didn't break anything. This is one movie I aggressively pursued getting a part in. I knew some of the people who were making it and working on it and all, but I got invited to a reading they did of the script, and I was just in the audience listening to them read it, and I just laughed my ass off, and I said, I got to be part of this movie, and you got to get me in there somewhere. And I went and auditioned and everything, and wound up getting a part. It's kind of an ensemble movie, really. There's a dozen or so of us who live in the town, which is under a curse since the Civil War, that none of us can die, and we eat people to survive. There haven't been enough people to eat since I guess they built an interstate somewhere that diverted traffic from our town, so we have to take what we can get of the scraps of people who come through.
Right. Like I said, very interesting story. I love the acting. I love the storyline. And it kept me so appealed to the screen when I watched this that I was just blown away by, a movie of this caliber that I never even heard of until I came across the trailer. And I'm not kidding, that's how I came across this. So I went to Amazon and bought it. But unbelievable. I absolutely love this one. I mean, this one, to me, is better than 2001 Maniacs. And I really like 2001 Maniacs. But this is...
Well, I think what makes it is Michael Cole's performance.
Yeah.
He's the creepy guy who gets sent in the witness protection program down to our town. And,
yes.
As we're about to kill him, he says, well, I can get you some more food. Just let the mob know where I am, and they'll come down to get me.
Right.
So then there's Italian food on the menu.
I know. I like that.
But Michael is just so great in it. He does this sort of, I don't know, almost Peter Lorre kind of character.
Yes. And what's so amazing about him is you think he'd be the first one to die. You know what I mean? And his role in this movie, he always manages to be one step ahead, until the end. But that was a damn good performance by Michael. He was good in there. Weasel.
Yeah, I mean, you hate the character and want him to die, and yet, what's the movie going to be without him? No, let's keep him around for a little longer.
Exactly.
So I love him in that.
I just can't wait till people can see this one, because I've been, trying to push it out there, but the title Lynch Mob is kind of like, it throws it off a little bit until you watch it, but it's damn good.
Right, you have to get the connection.
Right.
It's the lynching during the Civil War era that got the town put under a curse.
Right.
And the mob part is the mafia types who come down to the town. Get what happens to people who come to our town.
Well, ironically enough, it's something I want to talk to you about, because today is Valentine's Day. But before we get to that, you were also in a Georgia-based, I'm assuming, zombie TV series, The Walking Dead. You had an uncredited role as a walker. I think it was episode 1 or 2.
Well, actually, I worked in scenes, I think from 5. I think I worked in scenes from 5 of the 6 episodes.
Okay.
For some reason, only one of them got posted on IMDb. But that was quite an experience, and I'm hoping to relive the experience, because they're supposed to be coming here to shoot the second season.
You better. That thing blew up. I mean, I don't watch TV, but that series brought me back to television. I absolutely love the Walking Dead series. I've actually interviewed 2 other walkers in the movie. Melissa. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent.
They somehow got in a lot of the publicity photos, and they've blown up. They're spending all their time going to Comic Cons, conventions.
Right.
Really milking it. But we were some of, I think there were like 150 of us that were chosen as core zombies, and a few others added along the way.
Right.
But we went through zombie school, which was kind of interesting, because the year before I'd been to zombie school for Zombieland.
Right. I was going to mention that. I forgot.
So not afraid of being typecast. I'll, do whatever.
Yeah.
But you may have read somewhere else that they had 3 levels of makeup on The Walking Dead. The zombies who were way in the background only wore masks. Then there were the ones in the middle that had a really good job of basic makeup. And then there were the ones that were really close to the camera that got prosthetics and everything.
Right.
So I think I worked like 5 days on it, and one day with prosthetics and the other days with just the mid-range makeup.
Right.
Which still took about an hour to put on, half an hour to get off, plus I was still picking little bits off my face 3 days later. That's another story.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Zombieland, I forgot to mention, you played a metro station zombie. And it was
in a deleted scene, yeah.
Yes. Now, what
Actually,
I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I was cast in another scene which did make the movie. You may remember when Mike White is in the gas station bathroom and a zombie crawls under the stall. Well, I was going to be that zombie, but they changed the date of the shooting, and I had a conflict, and being the professional I am, I couldn't duck out on the other thing, which, wasn't nearly as good, but I made the commitment, stuck to it, and had to pass up that scene. So then they threw in this other scene at a metro station where two of us zombies attack a stunt man, and he falls down the stairs. Anyway, that they shot it, but it didn't make it into the movie. But I was one of the people in the zombie training. They shot this video to show the extras how the zombies are supposed to act, and there were like 5 or 6 of us, including Sonia Thompson, who you talked to for Walking Dead.
Right.
That was where I met her, actually, or maybe I met her on. Anyway. But so we spent a couple hours one morning going through the motions of what zombies do and how they move and all that. And I actually haven't seen the DVD extras, but I understand some of that's in there. So I didn't make the movie, but I made the extras.
Well, you played another zombie, too. You played a factory worker zombie in Ben 10 Alien Swarm, a TV movie in 2009.
Right. That was, I think, Cartoon Network's first live-action movie based on their cartoon series, Ben 10. And, there were just a whole crowd of us in the factory that we had been turned into some kind of zombies. And then at the end, Ben 10 breaks the spell, and we walk out into the sunlight.
Wow.
Normal again. But we spent a few days in, I guess it was an old General Motors plant that had been shut down. They shot in there and made that some kind of factory that was sending out stuff to turn the whole world into zombies. Interesting.
Yeah, zombies is I never really liked zombie movies. I think I mentioned this in a couple interviews I did. But I just never thought the purpose of a zombie movie, to be honest. And then about 6 months ago, I watched every George A. Romero zombie movie, and now I'm hooked. I've gone from Zombieland to Silent Night, Zombie Night to Zombie versus Strippers. I just get, now I'm into it. And of course, The Walking Dead then topped the cake for me with zombies.
I've been hooked on the Romero films too, till Survival of the Dead. That got me unhooked.
A lot of people don't like that one.
Yeah, well, I'm one of them. I'd still work for the guy if he called.
Right.
But, anybody can.
No.
He just went to the well one time too often for my taste.
Right. Well, the next one, it's a TV movie that's not released yet. We talked about it earlier off the air, but it's called Never Fail. It's a fantasy ghoul, movie. You got anything that you can mention about this, about your experiences?
Yeah, well, this is another live-action Cartoon Network movie. I heard a rumor they might be trying to turn it into a series. I don't know about that, but I was involved in a couple of scenes. There were 3 of us, and actually this was the most time I ever spent getting into makeup on this movie. It took about 3 hours to put on all this ghoul makeup.
Right.
So should look pretty good, and I've got a death scene that should look really cool when they finally dispatch me. But the thing that impressed me the most about it was the 3 of us ghouls, and there's one guy in his 40s, one in his 50s, and one in his 60s. 3 of us did our own stunts, but the 3 high school kids that were terrorizing had stunt doubles.
Right.
So I'm kind of proud of that. Although actually, I don't think the stunt doubles ever got to work. I think the kids did all their own stuff.
Right.
Their stunts were a lot trickier than ours anyway.
So you don't know exactly a date for that yet?
No, I keep checking Cartoon Network's website and haven't seen the date announced yet. Somebody had posted something on IMDb about a date, I think last November, but I don't know where they got that idea, and it's not correct.
Well,
it's up there.
Being that this is Valentine's Day, it's not a horror movie, it's a romance, but under the circumstances, you were in a TV movie, I guess it was released, it's available to buy on Amazon anyways. It's called The Lost Valentine in 2011.
Oh, that just aired on CBS a few weeks ago, last weekend in January, I think it was. That's with Betty White and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yes, Betty White. Gil Gerard.
Yeah. But anyway, their scenes all take place in the present, and they're talking about this romance that Betty's character had in her when she was around 20 or whatever. It was back in the 1940s. So there are these flashback scenes when her, was he her husband then or boyfriend, whatever, probably husband, was going off to war, and she's saying goodbye at the train.
Yeah.
Movie cliche. And anyway, I was one of the train conductors. I was just way in the background, and you can see me if you know where to look, you can see me at the station and then inside the terminal. But
right.
The worst part about that was I didn't get to work with Betty White because she was in the other era.
Right. I love Betty White.
Everybody loves Betty White. I say if she ran for president, she would win.
Yep. I tell you what, there's a movie that she was in. It's not really a horror movie. I guess it's more like an action. It has horror in it, but you might remember this. Remember Lake Placid?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, that's the first time I've seen Betty White cuss. I mean, you know what I mean? It's so weird to see her in that role. She did it so good.
Yeah, I loved it. And then didn't they do a sequel with Cloris Leachman?
Yes. No. Yeah.
No, it's not Cabin Fever, but it's not bad.
No. Now, is there anything else that you're involved with in the future coming up that you want to share?
Well, let's see. It's not horror exactly, but I just recently shot a scene with Queen Latifah for a movie called Joyful Noise that she stars in with Dolly Parton.
I love Dolly, too.
Yeah, well, and Dana, as we call her, Queen Latifah to you less intimates, was really a sweetheart. I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with her. The scene's maybe 30 seconds, but she came over and introduced herself, and we talked a little bit and shot the scene.
Right.
Went our separate ways.
Did you talk to Dolly?
Not this time. I interviewed her once.
Oh, yeah?
Back in the early 90s. But, yeah. Because I used to do a lot of interviews like you, but mine were, for radio for a while and then for newspapers.
Yeah, I've got that, yeah. I know there's a lot of podcasters out there now that does horror movies and interviews, and Steve Warren did the same thing that we do. You know, and just goes to show you can do something, and who knows, you might get any acting jobs. So.
Well, yeah, it was, I don't know, I always wanted to be an actor when I was a kid, and I did theater in high school and college, and finally realized I sucked at it.
Wow.
And
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah, and then I worked on crew for a while, and then I finally found a place in the audience being a critic, and did that for several decades. Still do it, actually.
Right.
But, about 20 years ago, a friend of mine was going to work as an extra on Oliver Stone's movie, The Doors, and he said, "Hey, Steve, why don't you come along? We'll work 2 nights. We just sit in the audience at a concert scene, and we get paid for it." And I still had long hair then, so I fit in with the Doors concert crowd.
Right.
Anyway, we went, and the first night we sat around. It was kind of chilly, and we were there all night. And it was boring and nothing happened for hours at a time. And my friend didn't go back the second night, but I did because I got hooked.
Really? Ain't that funny?
Yeah, so I've been doing anything I could to be on a movie set ever since then.
Right. Well, like I said, you have two of them right now that horror fans would love once they get a taste of it and watch it. Because I think these two are going to be, to me, cult classics 20 years from now, 10 years from now. Because, Scarce and Lynch Mob are two movies that I really enjoyed of the ones that I watched lately. And but you had Scarce. I can't say it enough. Your performance in that movie was incredible. You have that, like I said before, that dry, especially. There's one scene, one you said, how'd it go? When you get a taste of human blood,
there's no going back.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you that little speech there was what sold me on the movie when they sent me the script. I just love that. And in fact, I still use it as my monologue in auditions.
Oh, yeah?
That's
awesome.
And you might watch for each of the guys are still working together, Geddes and Cook, but they each just recently made a second film. Cook did Monster Brawl, which has these wrestlers who are also monsters, and they're matched up in various, fights, whatever, but with backstories on each one. And Geddes did one called Exit Humanity, which is set during the Civil War, but with monsters.
Yeah, I want to see both of them.
So, I think these guys have a future, and I'm looking forward to seeing these new ones.
Yeah.
They got a few bigger names in them, like Dave Foley and Bill Moseley. I forget who all, but they. Dee Wallace, I think. Is
yes.
One of them. So
yeah,
anyway,
I met Dee Wallace.
Well, watch for those.
Yeah, I will.
I'm hoping to work for them again too.
Well, they should. You made the movie. You made Scarce. You made Scarce scary. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'm just an actor. It's all in the script, and I do my best to bring it to life. But if the words aren't there and they don't let me write my own, then you don't have the movie.
Now, did you improv anything in Scarce? Did you add anything?
Oh, I'm sure there might have been some little bits, but nothing major.
Right.
I've done some other movies I could tell you about where I rewrote my whole part, or I wrote some monologues for myself or something. But in this case, the script was there, and it was just, I don't know, fate that brought us together, I guess.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it gets more airplay, because once the horror genre family gets a taste of this, I'm telling you, it's going to be a keeper. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I'm not real picky, but that's right up my alley. Them type movies, because I don't know. I like the creepiness about it. Stuff that can actually happen really intrigue me the most. That's what I'm, like Wrong Turn. That can happen. Scarce can happen. Lynch Mob can't happen, but. I like the
maybe in an alternate universe.
Right, right. But anyways, I do want to thank you for coming on. I'm glad that we got this interview in, because I'm trying to get these movies, get people to watch them, because they won't go wrong once they watch it. They'll fall in love with them.
Put The Signal on your list along with Scarce and Lynch Mob.
Yes, I got to watch that one yet, but. I'll do my review on it once I watch it, so keep an eye on it.
Okay.
But thanks for coming on, bud. Really appreciate it.
All right, good talking to you.
And you take care of yourself, and maybe we can chat again sometime in the future.
All right.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.